Saturday, 4th of May, 2024 at 8:02 a.m. in Snohomish, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey, casting our chart in the startup universe. Designer Jake with engineer Trey. As always, hello Trey, how's your week? How's it going?
Hello, Jake. It's great. A little bit tired and jet lagged still. It
Yeah,
is
I asked the
eight
viewer,
o'clock in
ask
the
you.
morning, and we've already
Hi.
been up for since 5
Since 5, which is pretty
local.
good for us because usually we would wake up since 4, since 3.
Yeah,
So
it is
pretty
heading in the right direction.
heading in the right direction. Yes, we are in America. We are in the States. We're going to be here for a little bit because, I don't work a traditional job anymore. Trey doesn't work a traditional job. So why would we possibly stay in Europe and not be around family for that? I'm just watching a hummingbird, by the way, mowing down on some flower nectar. What a beautiful place to be, by the way, here in Snohomish,
Yeah, and we
Washington.
couldn't mention that we were going to the States in prior videos because my mom watches these videos, and it was a surprise to show up on her doorstep.
Yes, the viewer was incredibly surprised to see us. The way that we had done this, here, let me transition back to this. The way that we had done this, by the way, was she was out. She was visiting our nephew. Actually, it would be our
Nice.
grandnephew. Um,
Yeah.
and we had showed up here. We had surprised Trey's father. First of all, he was
Who was also very surprised.
surprised, shocked, did not know what was going on. Said that Trey's mom was out. We were tracking her on Find My. She didn't realize that I had her on my Find My, so we were watching her all the way back. Okay, she's coming back. Then we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to open the door because we brought our dog with us. Because why not? And we'll just have the dog walk out there. And I think at this point, what you're going to see is a video of her looking completely bewildered about what's going on while I'm talking right now. She just like kind of tilted her head a little bit and she's like, "What is this?" And then she recognized that the dog was here, that we were here. It was quite a thing.
Yeah,
So
we should
good on
make sure
us.
that she's cool with us putting that in the video before we do it, though, just in
Okay.
case.
If not, then I've just cut all that stuff out. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's go to the agenda. We don't have an iteration name, by the way. Holy crud, by the way. We have to come up with one right
Oh,
now, you and I.
oh no. Uh, so based on the demo and then based on the stuff that you did
It's got to be
in
ephemeris. It's
this
got to be
cycle,
monetization buttons, something.
yeah. Well, like a bunch of UI design stuff actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, maybe
How about, nope. Oh,
ephemeral.
ephemeral
No,
gold.
what do you got?
How about that?
Ephemeral gold. Yeah, like fool's gold.
Ephemeral. Ephemeral gold? How do you spell ephemeral?
Yeah, EPHEMA.
AR? ER? Doesn't matter. It's going to be spelled correctly eventually. Ephemeral gold, everyone.
I
That's
know how to
the
spell ephemeris, but I don't know how to spell
that's
ephemeral.
the name of this
Because it
cycle.
must be AL.
Uh, um, you will see that we are. I mean, we're our prep is great today. So agenda. I have a very special
We're on it.
check-in today. We'll do the design demo first, then we will do the dev demo, and then we're going to go into a little bit of philosophy. It's not going to be a tremendous amount. Basically, I've written down some notes about things that I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to talk to you about it because why not? It is our uh, it's our
It's our time.
podcast. So why we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Um, I just realized something. I just talked through all of that, and I think I was just in the wrong view. Doesn't matter. So you're seeing the agenda now,
No,
right?
it looked fine. It looked fine. I'm I think I'm seeing the
Doesn't matter.
what
We're seeing the agenda now. This is a super messy verse of the
it's definitely
podcast.
not ephemeral though. I'm
No,
sure about that.
ephemeral. Ephemeral. No, ephemeral is definitely something else that you need to get checked for. I did get a random call from the New York State Health Authority to do a survey. Trey got a random survey as well. So
In
I think
Germany, actually.
yeah, mine was in the States, and they were asking a little bit about my history with Ephemeria, and I didn't, I didn't go into great detail about it. So as 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 this agenda, now that you see it here, says, we are going to do a special check-in. So let's start the special check-in. Trey Henry, are you ready for the special check-in?
I am not only ready, I'm excited.
I've told you that you're probably going to hate this. This is what's called the check-in speed round. So what I'm going to offer you is not one, not two, but three separate check-in questions based
Oh
upon
God.
the hit show The Circle, where they had three questions that they had to answer, yes or no questions, and to learn a little bit more about one another. And the reason I wanted to do this game with you is to take the vacuousness and ridiculousness of those people on that show, completely stupid, vacuous people, and instead we're going to co opt these things for us. I'm particularly mad at this program because none of them seem to know or understand astrology, and they thought that one of the competitors was a bot because she used the word trine. Also, one of the guys that said who uses the word trine was a scientist. He's allegedly a scientist using AI. He's like, I've never heard the word trine before, and I'm like, it's triangle. What an idiot. Anyways, that guy is a super freaking moron. So we're going to reclaim our
Not us though. We
power.
are neither vacuous nor morons,
No,
and we're going to prove
exactly.
that right now.
Okay, so there's three questions. There are yes or no questions, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail than just yes or no. Okay. Question number one:
Oh,
would you unfriend someone who is canceled? These are the questions that they had to answer as well. Would you unfriend someone who is canceled, Mr. Henry?
it, do I have to only answer yes or no?
No, I mean, you tell me what's
Oh,
on your
okay.
mind. This is a check-in.
Well, I would say that it depends on what the canceling was. Like
Yeah.
if they, if they and also how close I was to them. So
So the answer is
it's
it depends.
complicated.
It's
It
complicated.
depends.
Okay, let me give
Yeah.
you a situation that actually happened to me, and you can tell me whether or not that you would cancel this person. This is a real
Okay.
situation, by the way. So I
Okay.
was going to New York quite a bit to do work when I was working at Frog Design. I was doing work for Nokia that was out of White Plains, New York, and I was going back and forth between New York and Seattle
Yeah.
almost weekly, as it turns out.
I
And
remember.
Trey remembers very well. I stayed with one of the designers named, I won't go into names. I stayed with one of the designers, but he had a very good kind of social network. And he said, we would like to go out and, I was drinking at the time. So it's like, we're going to go for drinks and, meet up for this party, whatever. And okay, I'm going to go do that. And I went to this party, ended up meeting somebody. And I will say their first name, which is Brian. And Brian and I, like, nice guy, well educated, accomplished, really great, like, to hang out with, and just was like really getting along with him. And so, like, we started hanging out a little bit more, doing like kind of friend things between my friend who I was staying with, his roommate, Brian, me, other folks, just like hanging out because like I had no friends, I had no kind of social network in New York at the time. So one time I fly back to New York and I say to my friend who I was staying with at the time, and I said, whatever happened to Brian? Why don't we hang out with him? He's like, oh, you don't know. And I was like, no, I don't know. Brian, allegedly drunk, went to the makeshift memorial. This is 2009. The makeshift memorial for 9/11 victims, and spent 2 hours burning the things that were at the memorial. And I was,
Oh dear.
and they're like, we don't hang out with him anymore. And I had texted Brian beforehand, and he had been very friendly to me. He's like, "Oh my God, Jake, so good to hear from you. Like, let's hang out." And I was like, "I can't hang out with him." Like, he burned the 9/11 memorial. And so, my answer to this question for this situation, would you unfriend someone who is canceled, is yes. In fact, I did unfriend him because I was like, "Oh, and we're blocked now."
Yeah. Yeah, although I would, because I agree with you entirely in that particular instance, I would do the exact same thing. But you could almost not even call it unfriending because this was like somebody that you met at a bar, like,
Yeah.
and
But
hung
like
out
I
with
stopped
one
hanging out
time,
with
you
them.
know? So that's why I think the context really
Yeah,
matters, because if it was somebody that I had been friends with for a really long
I
time,
see.
and then they had like one episode of something that, what was maybe bad but not super egregious, and then they were like generally canceled by the wider friend group or whatever because of one of those things. Yeah, it would really depend on kind of like what the situation was, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice level of subtlety. The vacuous losers of of the circle
Of
said
the
this.
circle.
One yes, a bunch of no's, because I think the yes person was like, yeah, if they do something egregious enough, they're canceled. Would you date someone that is who has an OnlyFans, Mr. Henry?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was like, there's no question in my mind. Like,
Yeah.
why would I not? Because like
Yeah.
I kind of want to
Also in the
like do
gay
their
community,
marketing,
like
and they're
you're
like,
gonna have a very Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to do their marketing and their messaging and be like, look, I can kind of like help you out with all of this. I think it'd be great. It'd be a fun little adventure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like you in the gay world, you would have a very small list of people who didn't have an OnlyFans.
That's true. Like, are you gonna date someone that doesn't have an OnlyFans? Exactly. Vacuous losers said this. Great. So the no's were the toxic masculinity folks that were there. Fantastic. Like
Yep.
possession of
Yep.
women. Exactly.
Yep. Makes sense.
And then, would you break up with someone over text, Mr. Henry?
Um, I mean, I feel like maybe not over
I
text,
feel like
but
you have.
like in the earlier days, like maybe over email or something like that. So I think I have to say yes to this. Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I have too.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. I can y- Luckily, Trey and I have been together for enough years that we don't have to face these problems. But like, I'm pretty sure that I have broken up with someone over a communication platform as opposed to in person. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And the answer? Who cares? Okay, that's and that is your checking question today. Yay! Well done. Uh, so this cycle, I'm going to go to me solo because we're going to talk a little bit about the design demo. So this cycle we had a lot of tickets that were finished by me, really around like UI stuff, and I don't necessarily enjoy UI, but I really was getting into this cycle. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I wanted to show a little bit of the UI that I did, and this is not meant to be exhaustive list of what I've accomplished. Oh, let me close this first of all before I do that. This is not meant to be an exhaust of stuff that I did. I'm just very proud of the little. We're going to show off some of the little things that we've done. So we have these normal purple buttons. You've seen these before, but now we've got destruction red. I calls chaos, and I made a whole canceling joke around Saturn. Ahead of time. Good for me. Can't cancel Saturn. But like the one that I'm really excited about are the gold monetization buttons. And the thing that you might be able to see here that I'm very proud of, and this is code. So this was a CSS code that I wrote, which I'm very excited
Yeah.
about. And the thing here is that you'll notice that it has this kind of like it has the same type of like radial. I don't know how to explain this to non-designers. This kind of radial design thing that's going on here, but also it's got this kind of like what gold bars are supposed to do, right? So they go dark to light to super dark to mid. This is like a very standard way that we do gold bars. So like it looks rich. It looks like gold. And the point of this is not only to make beautiful UI, which is important and necessary, but also it's to impress upon people that things, if you don't pay for Cosmic yet, these gold buttons are the entry points for you to start to pay. So if you want to go do this thing, this is going to say this is a paid feature kind of thing. And that's really the indication of what it's supposed to do. But I'm pretty proud of these things. If you look at like the old buttons, and these are just always like placeholder buttons here, and you
Yeah.
look at these new buttons, I think it just it looks nice, looks cute.
Yeah, yeah. We should do a variant on the buttons. I just realized looking down at the other buttons, we should do a variant on these buttons that has a left icon, because we'll definitely have those as
Oh
well.
yeah, we'll do a left
Like,
icon.
because yeah, because we have those hero icons.
Yeah, Right now,
Yeah.
the variants that I have are these. So these are all of the variants. So that has a right icon. This is active, inactive. This is hover. We also have small buttons
Yeah,
here.
I like those. I haven't seen those before. Those look great.
Oh, the small buttons. And then we
Yeah.
have the secondary buttons, which I'm also pretty big fans of
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we should get those in as well. Get those
and
implemented.
where I put these somewhere. Where? Oh yeah, these. Right. I completely forgot that we have these. So
Yeah.
now, and we don't have these in the product yet, but soon we will. Like if you're looking at a chart and you're looking at somebody's birth and they are a prominent person, it will look like this. We talked about that in a prior episode. You can look up there for that prior episode about where we talked about that. And
And just for the record, neither Celine Dion nor our friend Erica are dead.
they're not dead. But I did put Celine Dion's death at 2068, which is probably a little. I mean, it's she would have lived 100 years in 2 months, and I thought that was a fair way to die. Yeah, Erica also. Erica probably doesn't appreciate that I do this. That's fine. I don't know why I use her details. It's fine. Erica also lived 100 years. Good for her. But you'll notice here that Erica
Oh yeah,
doesn't
go
have a
ahead.
location, which is the secondary button for add location.
Yeah, I really like that. The secondary button looks great there.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say about me declaring people's death in 100 years by it's just UI, everyone. They're not dead. They're not dead.
Yeah, it's just showing variants of these cards and what that they can be different types of natal or different types of life events.
Different type of life events. And also they don't even have to be life events at all. They can be just transits, right? So just a random transit on a day and a location. We have these, like if it's imagine that today is the 18th of October 1988. It's not, but like in Jacksonville, Florida, you might want to be like, well, this is kind of like I can save this as an event, like this is a life event or something. I can set a reminder, maybe. I don't know. This is just showing that you can do these multiple buttons here. There's that add location again that's showing here in the transits view. And then this is what Trey showed. You showed last week, right? The here and now stuff.
Yeah.
If you look up
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
you can see the here and now stuff that's from last week. This is what here and now is going to look like. It's just going to say now. And, like literally when I did this, it was the 20th of April, 2024 at 18:58 and 10 seconds CEST in Berlin, Germany. So I thought that was a great place to be like, that's now when I did this.
Yeah.
You can see also that you can add a button to create a diary entry, add a location, like honestly.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I think they look really good.
Real pretty, right?
Yeah, once they're in the product, it'll be amazing.
Once they're in the product, is there anything else I wanted to show when it came to UI or anything? I mean, there's
You started on form stuff.
yeah. That's
Or is that too early to show?
No,
We
no,
can show it
no.
next time.
The form stuff looks great, and actually,
Okay.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it's over here. So like, I made a bunch of form elements here. So checkboxes, here. So like, here are what's called a radio group. Here is our checkboxes. You can see that we checked Trey, but Dr. David Wong is unchecked. That's the name of our dog. So then we've got some text areas. This is more of a Trey joke than anything. Yikes, that's like new age garbage. Because Trey is very, very much against new age stuff. Yeah, and then just locations. I'm not a fan of these icons next to, like, there's something wrong with these icons here, but like, I don't know. Skip in the product. We're gonna take a look at it.
Yeah, it falls squarely into the category of getting a feel for it.
Exactly.
Put it in,
And
see if you like it.
as part of getting a feel for it, you look here.
Oh, that looks so much better.
So like so if you remember, Trey has been showing a disastrous login for a long time. This is what the login's going to look like. You'll notice that like this remember me text looks a little dingy. This is a Figma problem. So there's this like there's this shading from the login button that's going over this. It's not supposed to look like that. But other than that, like,
it's weird when you zoom in. I don't know if this is going to show up on the final video, but when you zoom in, there's like weird lines. It's like a texture.
A grid shows up. A grid shows
The
up.
grid. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm trying to not zoom in that much, but you know what? It's okay. It happens.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Things happen.
Things happen.
I think it looks kind of cool. It was actually kind of a nice texture.
Rah.
It made it look a little bit like a yeah. It looks like a like a picnic tablecloth.
Look at my picnic tablecloth of UI. That's not meant to do that. So, date, time, location,
Anyway,
stuff like that, all that jazz. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. Yeah, that's that. Anything else you want to add to that demo, Mr. Henry?
no, I'm just really excited that we have some UI designs, especially for the form stuff, because now we're going to be moving into like cast a chart,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
like that's going to look like.
We're 8 months in on this project,
Hey,
on an astrology project, and we haven't cast a chart
I
yet.
know that you have certain feelings about that, and that's fine. You can have those feelings, but those
No.
feelings,
I feel great about it.
great, me too. Those are the feelings. Okay, moving on to the engineering demo. Do you want to talk a little bit about the ephemeris view?
Yeah. So this cycle, apart from packing, moving across the country, and all of the fun and drama around that, we actually had a very productive cycle as well. And so one of the things that I did in this cycle was to get a feel for what it would be like to pop up an ephemeris or an ephemeris like view while you're in the context of looking at a chart. So I'm going to come over to cosmic running here. We're looking actually at my birth chart. And it has, we're just looking at, I kind of stripped everything down for the purposes of just getting a feel for this in the demo. And what you're about to see also, like so many things that we demonstrate early on, this is really to get a feel for like, does this work? Is it effective? Like what's good about it? What's not good about it, etc. But so I just came here to my chart. If I pull up the cosmic console, you can now see that we have this show ephemeris. And if I click show ephemeris, this just that fast, just you're looking at something, boom, show ephemeris, right? We're not going out of context. We're not going through 2 or 3 different UIs to say like, oh, I need an ephemeris, and then that's actually has no context for what we were currently looking at. This is actually an ephemeris based on my date of birth. So this line here that's in purple, you can see is February 28th, 1974. You can also see that this entire chart, instead of being a midnight or a noon ephemeris, this is a 2:20 p.m. ephemeris because that's my date of birth. And so we're just going backwards and forwards by date here. And this is really fantastic because now you can see, like you, for example, like we can see that Mercury was retrograde when I was born, as we've talked about in the past, somewhat famously, also in Pisces, in detriment and fall. And
Shows
then you can
communication
see,
issues.
yeah, there's some communication issues. But you can see that around the 9th, around the 10th, it started moving forward again. So you can see that it's kind of like slowly going, but 29 degrees 9 minutes, 28 degrees 32, 28, et cetera, until it gets all the way down to here. And then it's 27 degrees 11 minutes Aquarius, and then 27 Aquarius 20. And you can see that, we're just putting these like 2 letters for the zodiacal sign, and we're just using text for the planets. But so all of this would change. But yeah, again, it's just to get a feel for it, right? And another very cool thing that's happening here is that this is also demonstrating the power of chart calculation or astrological and astronomical calculations being done in as above. So this was all done on the client. There was no client-server communication in order to make this happen. We used SWEF, the Swiss ephemeris that's running in the browser on the local machine to render this basically instantly. And that's also amazing. And so this really demonstrates some of the strength and power that we're going to get out of these kinds of things, which we've talked about a lot in the past. Another kind of cool thing here. So if I go ahead and add the here and now ring, so now we're looking at the planets transiting right now. And that's like updating in real time. And then we have my chart in the middle here. If I pop up the ephemeris now, we're actually looking at a now ephemeris. And the location is based on the location that I have set for this account that I'm logged in with, which is currently still set to Berlin. So it's 5:27 p.m. in Berlin right now. It's 8:27 here. Well, there's this is just me setting my uh, my default location. But then, yeah, same deal here. So you can see that we had Mercury come out of retrograde back there on the 24th. And again, this is at the time for now. Now, I'm not actually updating this in the same interval that we're updating the chart. That would be another thing that we would potentially do. So you could potentially have like an ephemeris view that is that you're using as kind of like a real-time view. Whether or not that's actually useful or not is kind of like something that we would have to like figure out. And again, this also works like if we're just showing the here and now chart. So this is, oops, there we go. So this is the chart for now. These angles are probably also for Berlin.
Berlin, yeah.
Yeah, and then if I show ephemeris, then again we're kind of looking at the same thing. So
Nice.
yeah, I really like this. They're specifically for things like horary, for example. Although many different forms of astrology, you really need to be looking at the context. You know, you're always, when you're looking at a chart, you're looking at the snapshot in time. But being able to just like instantly pull up an ephemeris, not leave the view that you're in, and just be able to quickly glance at like, here's where stuff was, here's where stuff is moving to, gives you a very powerful way of engaging with the data that doesn't, that doesn't take you out of context.
Love it. And like Trey said, demonstration. We're gonna keep playing with it, see how it feels, and we're gonna use it, and eventually it's gonna be in the product, and it's gonna be great, and it's probably gonna be instrumental as an electional astrology flow. So if you are looking for a specific, time that is going to be the best time to manifest something into this world, whether it be start of a business, procedures done, traveling, whatever, using an ephemeris first, it seems like the right answer to do that. And so like maybe we start with ephemeris as opposed to start with a chart. Excited about all of that.
Yeah. There's all kinds of really cool stuff there too. That's like around like changing the time axis or the time interval, and also changing like what you're showing dynamically. You could also see the other thing I didn't mention there is that the ephemeris is obviously using the perspective as well. So the stuff that's showing up in the chart is exactly the stuff that's going to show up in the ephemeris, and that could also include, for example, angles, house placements, the parts. So like the part of fortune, the part of spirit, the part of Eros, etc. So yeah, very potent, very powerful. There's no other software that I know of that makes it so quick and easy to like switch between these views. And this is really kind of the stuff that we're going for.
Nice. Yeah, agreed. Love it. And yay. Finally, this is a bit of like perspective or philosophy that is just forming. And so you and I, along with Trey, are like, I'm talking to the viewer, you and I, the viewer.
I wasn't sure who you was.
you, the viewer, and I, along with Trey, are going to kind of go through a journey right now of talking a little bit about what I'm entitling data as defense mechanism. Title in, TBD, title in progress. The idea here, and I'll show my screen instead. Let's go here. These are literally my handwritten notes. So you are seeing my handwritten notes in my hand right now. These, I took a picture of them and I put them into Figma. So let's just look at Figma for a second. And the idea here around this thing, actually before I go into the notes, is to talk a little bit about how I have felt like for the majority of my career, until I started working actually at Cosmic, that my intuitive voice that's inside of me has been silenced in a way that I consider to be very kind of disruptive towards building great products and services that people love. And I've been getting a perspective more and more on like why this is. Like why is my intuitive voice not seen, or anyone's intuitive voice not seen as important as using data around this? And instead of just saying like the difference between qualitative and quantitative data, I think part of this has to do with confidence, vulnerability. Like, much like everything in this world, it all seems to be piled up with a bunch of human garbage. So let's go through some of the human garbage together of what I consider to be a pretty destructive process when it comes to data. So silencing, your intuitive voice. You can't read my handwriting, and that's absolutely fine. This is more for me than for you. But like our the intuitive process really is what Brene Brown talks about as the brain matching process. The idea here is that like there are ways in which your brain makes associations between this and that to combine them in a way that is greater than the parts than themselves. This is very important. Anyone who has done use like research, especially like user experience research, knows there is an intuitive process of seeing data on your left hand, seeing data in your right hand that seems unconnected, and then connecting those two things.
Mhm.
And that brain matching process is incredibly important. The problem with that brain matching process for analytical minds is that it's not predictable. It's not necessarily like easily repeatable. It repeats, but like it's not predictably repeatable. And it can feel a little soft in all of this stuff. And because we are always looking for answers, either in our personal life or in our professional lives, we always turn towards numbers for answers, or towards things that are more concrete for answers, as opposed to the ephemeral things. And so we become fearful of, I have to read my handwriting now. So like we're not very good at knowing things. We want sure things and we want guarantees. Unfortunately, on all of that, we're silencing our brain matching process of various things. We become very fearful. We look for assurance from numbers. Um, and it's often because, like we talked about this, we don't trust our own gut instinct, our own knowing. We literally have emotion feeling in our gut. Like our gut is part of our emotional feeling, and the idea that that is not a sensing mechanism is usually problematic when it comes to creating great products. So we want assurance. Unfortunately, we can't get assurance from guts. Guts don't feel like assurance, they feel too ephemeral. And so we tend to push that away, and we will put data instead. And the idea here is and this is a more of a note to me, and I apologize for the bleed through, but if you need more assurance, like you need to do another study or you need more data, that might not be anything to do with that. That's a you thing, right? You might be feeling vulnerable, and you might be feeling like you're having an issue making a decision. And the idea that like the data isn't hard enough in order to make a decision is not necessarily a function of the data, it's a function of you. You don't feel confident in decision making. You feel vulnerable. You want someone else to blame for a decision that might not go the way that you want it to go. You want to blame data, you want to blame another person. And so you tend to move away from yourself. You look for external data, you look for external people, and you say, let's create a decision together. And that therefore it takes away the vulnerability of yourself to make a decision, kind of shifts blame to a lot of different people if things go wrong. But if things go right, it was all your idea. I guess that's the
Yeah, always. That's always the case. Yeah, I like that. I think that we've because of research on human behavior and psychology and brains and kind of like even though we don't know a lot, like we have done, there has been a lot of experimentation done on human behavior and kind of like how things that might seem intuitive are actually like factually busted in many ways, right? Like there's tons of science around this that people will perceive like the consequences of an action as being way more important than they actually generally tend to be, or other sort of like different ways that cognition doesn't work well. And because we now know a lot of that stuff, I think we have, that pendulum has swung very far the other direction, which is like, you can't trust yourself at all. You can't
right.
trust your intuition. You can't trust what like what you sort of feel like you have an instinctual sort of understanding of, because it's all wrong. It's all bad. Which of course is also not true.
Correct.
And so somewhere in the interaction between those two things of like your instincts, your intuition, you driving towards the things that you want and that you love, with the hope that that will resonate with others as well, and then bringing in as much sort of quant as you can, to kind of like back those things up, or to I think, as you say, sort of like use them as kind of like um, guidance or bumper rails or that kind of thing.
Sensing. I always use the
Yeah,
word sensing.
sensing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. To help you, they're tools for navigation. They're not meant to tell you where you're going. And I think part of deciding where your destination is part of that instinctual process.
Yeah, the way we've talked about this in previous episodes, you can see up there, is that we are data informed and we are not data driven. And the reason why we are
Right.
not data driven is because data driving assumes that data and purely data can give you the answer to something. And the
Yeah.
problem is that data can't give you the answer for everything. There is no sure things in this world. And so there is a certain amount of interpretation and creativity that you have to put into this. The problem with all of this is that, going back to my notes for a second, is that product management, of which I have a very, very dim view, is a field that is not a craft field of creativity. It does not encourage nor exercise creativity. William Plover had said creativity is the power to connect the seemingly unconnected. This is where you're taking the thing that's over here and the thing that's over here and connecting it up. Because these folks do not honor creativity and actually go out of their way to stamp out creativity, it basically dies inside of them. And their expectation when they control the narrative at a company is that everyone else's creativity also needs to die on the vine as well. Or in terms of designers, their creativity has to be expressed in a very specific way, which is UI that you put into a digital tool that creates a flow or an experience that meets the needs of what the data driven person has said. So we will never be data driven. We will always be data informed. That means that we trust our intuition in order to create this stuff. My battery is almost out, so I'm going to stop talking right now. Mr. Henry, anything else you would like to add to all of this?
No, I like that. I think that's putting a little bit more polish on, yeah, something that we've discussed plenty of times in the past, and is also kind of like inherent to the way that we approach this, but is not maybe expressed um, in words as well. I think that was a really good expression of it.
Thank you. Okay. Anything that the viewer has to do today? I mean, I already think that the viewer should go out and like go find a hummingbird that is taking the nectar of a flower and maybe like go say
Yeah,
hi to it.
appreciate nature.
Go
Appreciate
appreciate
the nature
nature.
that's around you. And there's always nature around you, even if you're in like
Yeah.
there was nature around us when we
We're
were
in
in
Berlin. Yeah,
Berlin,
exactly.
the EU's largest city.
Yeah.
So you could definitely find the nature.
It's
Enjoy
Gemini
nature.
season. Go find that verdancy. Go find that nature. Go give it a hug. And be well. Take care. We will see you next week. We love you all. Goodbye.
Bye.